Well, the truth is, it really pissed me off because like I used to go to these things, and like when I was new, and I would learn a lot. I'd be like, wow, these people are so good. I want to learn everything I can.
Yeah.
Now, learning the saito method just gave me a new set of eyes that I didn't have before. And
Yeah.
it's so frustrating when the clinicians don't have the same eyes because you're like,
Hmm.
it's kind of like during a sports game when someone's yelling at the referee. They're like, "Did you see that?" And then I'm thinking the same thing. Like, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
So it gave me, if anything, new motivation to share this information more passionately. Because like when I see something that I think is cool or important, I want to like shout it from the rooftops, which is the whole point of
Hmm.
this. I want it to be like, you people need to know this.
Hmm.
So this is my voice, the only way to
Yeah.
try and get these people to know this stuff. But it goes back to, you know how human beings, we we evolved thought at the same time as we evolved language. Like there was no thought without language.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Sure.
You know how like when you think, it's generally well, okay. Sometimes you think of imagery, but language and thought are kind of they need each other.
Yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't have language, how can you think, especially abstractly?
Yeah.
Okay. Now in saito conducting, we have a vocabulary word for every gesture you could think of.
Right.
In the normal traditional American conducting methods, there are no vocabulary words whatsoever. So like it's frustrating talking to these professors because you're like, we have like once you get the vocabulary, then you can think through it. But if you don't have
Hmm.
vocabulary, they're left saying things like, "Oh, just move through air and water," and that's the kind of we're
That's a really good point. Darn, you should almost tape that. That's another like good topic.
I did tape it,
Oh, you are taping?
yeah, just in
Oh.
case something good would come out, which maybe it just did. But yeah, without a vocabulary for every gesture, you can't analyze every gesture. You don't see every gesture. Like there has to be once there's a word for it, then your mind goes, oh, here's a compartment for it.
Yeah.
And in Saito, there's a word for every single gesture you can think of.
Well, and yeah, and like if you're doing like that's the thing. Let's say you're like talking to somebody who's across the world. How do you describe, okay, I'm looking at this passage in this Beethoven symphony, what kind of gesture would you suggest? And what are they going to say? Oh, just make sure you move your arms faster and wave as if you're moving through mud.
That's what they
Like,
do say. That's what they do say.
but that's so imprecise.
It's imprecise, and I've seen at these symposiums, I've seen sessions where they'll be up there for like 7 minutes trying to get
Hmm.
somebody to do something. I'm like, you could have just said, do tataki.
Yeah.
And then,
How much
7
time
minutes
could you
later,
save? Yeah.
not to mention the fact that these poor people spend like $1,000 to go to these events, or at least hundreds of dollars. And then, like, in the 7 minutes that they got wasted while the professor's bumbling around going, oh, move through air, you could have just said, do tataki. Then the guy would go, oh, and he goes, oh, yeah, that does work right there.
Yeah.
But no.
Well, I think it's a lot of almost like people are just trying to express their creativity in some way, but it's so subjective when you do it that. Like, there's no way you can ever almost do something similar because you don't have a precise name for the gesture, like you said. Like, how do you. Yeah.
It's like trying to write a poem without a language.
Yeah.
You can't do it.
It's trying to learn an instrument without having a specific technique.
Yeah, yeah. Imagine if string players, I had to take string class. You probably did
Move
too.
your bow
Oh yeah, you play
like
bass. I
you're
forgot.
going through water.
And yeah, so you have there's like lists of all these different bow gestures you can do. Like right, there's like I
Yep.
forgot on like Leggiero or whatever. There's
Oh, there's
fun.
tons.
What?
Yeah.
There's
Oh,
tons.
there's so many different ways.
No,
Yeah.
yeah. Imagine if when you're teaching strings, they're just like, oh, just go faster, or go kind of like this, or just intuitively go like that. It just
Yeah,
works.
yeah.
You have to have the words, otherwise you can't teach it. Which is why it's so frustrating to go to these events and then listen to the professors bumble around with like the words they're trying to figure out.
That's a good point because yeah, how many like just thinking like playing double bass in the Saskatoon Youth Orchestra and we would have sectionals and you get a like whatever or even just yeah sorry, I'm a little bumbly tonight, but for, to be able to be told, like, exactly with one word, this is the type of bow motion you need, right? It solves the problem rather than, okay, no, it needs to be a little more this way, no, a little more, no, a little heavier, a little, like.
Yet that's how conducting is taught, except for the saito method where we actually do have words.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, you never think about that. It's, floor, door, window, ceiling. That's like the most concrete terminology, I think.
And they love to say move through water too. That's their terminology. Just move through water. Just take a swimming class or something.
Just to clarify, I don't doubt the musicality of any of these conductors.
That's a good point. It really is, because as passionate I am about the saito method, all these professors probably are better conductors than me because they have a lot of experience. They do it for a living, which I don't. So
Yeah.
I'm sure that it's a good point because like they're great musicians. They're probably great people, and their heart's in the right place. They care enough about conducting that they decide to do it for a living.
Yeah.
All we're really saying is that there's a method out there that has more precise language.
Yeah. No, I agree, and that's something I've just never thought about. Is how concrete of vocabulary have we gotten in general conducting class? It's maybe not as precise as it should be. There should be, if there's a specific gesture, then there should be a specific name for it.
Not should be, there is.
Well, yes, but I'm saying, even for these other, right, there should be something universal. Just like, when you're talking about legato and staccato on an instrument, there should be some kind of universal way to describe gestures with conducting. Which, it's what makes saito so easy, right? And how you can work with people across the country or across the world.
Okay, that was very good. I'm going to cut that one off.